Alright, Chapter 8, Design, Building, Facility Acquisition, Introduction, Overview, Purpose, Air Force History, the Design, Building, Facility Acquisition, Basic Approach, Project Execution, Design, Building, Bid and Build, Design, Build, Low Price, Technical, acceptable solicitation down, turnkey, comparison, design, build, bid, build, responsibility, project definition, knowledge, construction, technology, advantage, design, build, roles, responsibility, factors, consider design, build, project, design, build, process, requires for proposal, architectural engineering process with introduction to architectural engineering selection process, unique design, build, project management plan, check the department forms form 1391, preparing the cost business daily synopsis, Commerce Business Daily Synopsis, prepare architectural engineering statement of work, prepare with the government fee and estimate, fees, negotiation, weighing factors, prior design, building experience, project definition, development, introduction, major elements, prepare people involved with the project definition process, data gathering, charities, and the conducting the schematic design, chartes, project definition, documentation, project definition, request for proposal, preparation, diagram, request for definition, request for proposal, development, checklist requires for proposal, the front end documentation, modified uniform contract format, people involved with the request for proposal, development, statement of work for the request for proposal, obtain the funds and authority to advertise the issued advance for the civil commercial based commerce business daily announcement, performance final review, request for request for proposal review, conduct source selection briefing, and issue the request for proposal, conducting pre-proposal conference, managing inquiries, amending solicitation. 16, activities current with the project definition, request for proposal development, people involved with the current activities to prepare with the source selection plan outline, establish evaluation factors, appointment letters approved with the source selection plan, training evaluation team members. 17, source selection progress, single phase design, building, procurements, introduction checklist, people involved with the source selection process, receipt and proposal, the pre-evaluation meeting, the evaluation process, the Air Force evaluation system overview, competitive range determination, proposal analyst report, authority to request the required funding and awarded contract. The 18th Jackson source selection process, the two-phase design, building, procurements, and introduction with the checklist, people involved with the two-phase source selection process, the receipt of the proposal, pre-evaluation meeting, the evaluation process, Air Force evaluation system, competitive range determination, and the proposal analyst report, authority request required funding and award contract, and source selection forms, the both single and two-phase design procurement. 20. Design construction overview, performance conformance of the contract notice of the proceeded design review, the site design 100%, facility design 50%, requires information, design facility review, facility design 100%, cost saving proposal, pseudo value engineering project meetings. 21. Construction, design, building, pre-construction, conference, rating, and approval to proceed the inspection, construction, surveillance, design, and build projects, contract modifications, operation, maintenance, training of the design, building, project, pre-final and final inspection, designing, building, projects, Department of Defense Form 1354, beneficial occupancy, and 22. Warranty, DB, warranty support with the standard military construction, reference documents, federal acquisition, FARS supplement, Air Force FARS supplement, reference Title 10 U.S. Standard Code 2807, Appendix 4, Title 10 U.S. Standard Code 2305A, and Title 41 U.S. Standard Code 253M. Chapter 8, Designing Building Facility Acquisition. The chapter provides a detailed approach application for the design building process one of the aircraft design construction aids and intended with the foster the consistency with the application design process technical techniques for the Air Force military construction. Note that many of all the techniques can be applied with non-military construction projects. The effective application of the techniques presented will help acquire facility in a timely manner, reduce the design costs and played with the planning of the design funds, reduce the design changes, reduce the construction modifications, reduce the government liability, support the corporate goals on time and within the budget formats, reduce the government contracting administration burden. 2. The Air Force believes, 2 of the overview. Air Force believes is more than one how appropriate the project delivery method. There are parameters inherent with each of the projects determine the most appropriate acquisition strategy. There are advantages and disadvantages with each of the acquisition methods. The circumstances and requirements of the specific project will determine with each of the pros of method. The key of the making the determination is adequate education in any order to decide with the method of approach to all parties, customers, managers, designers, managers, construction, and contractors to be educated within the delivery methods. Much of the uncertain, many of the questions raised by the use of the new delivery strategy. The questions included what are the roles responsible for the party started? What is the product of the process? How does the new delivery approach for the impact of the quality of the finished facility? What are the new skills totals are required for the delivery extent facility, excellent facilities? How does the government delineate with the scope of the work for the various design entities? To what level does the request for proposal be taken? What are the drawing specification cost projects that should be prepared with the request for proposal? Architectural engineering, architectural, or the record is the responsibility been qualified to coordinate with the transition between the request for proposal final design facility. 3. Purpose. The purpose of the chapter familiarize and educate with the Air Force program manager, others with the Air Force design build with the project delivery method is intended to provide for the consistency, standardization of application of design build rather than directive. The chapter is written with the assumption that the Air Force will assume the role of both Air Force program manager and the design construction agent. In other instances, the U.S. Army, U.S. Corps Engineering or Co. Navy Facility Engineering Command NAVFAC could be an agent. For the Air Force history of the design building facility, the Congress originally authorized for the design building process in 1986. The Secretary of the Army Air Force was delegated with the authority of the headquarters U.S. Army FLIE, who returned and delegated the authority of Major Command Civil Engineering in January 1995. See the Appendix 1242 for the DMB, AF, and CE design letter January 1995. The FARS 15 allowed for the method of procurement called for the single-phase design building facility acquisition, while the traditional method of acquisition request proposals developed issue with the request for proposal required for each of the offer to submit a written proposal. Evaluation award is made with the offer with the best value provided to the government. Prospective officers submit the proposal in response to the solicitation in 3 volumes. Volume 1, price. Volume 2, past performance. Volume 3, technical proposal. In the response to industry concerned with the relatively high cost proposal preparation, officers in the single phase process of the Congress of the phase passed the legislation in 1996 permitting the use of the two-phase design building process. The new process minimizes the time expenses required for the officers to respond to single-phase request proposal with the government to evaluate the proposal. Since the technical design contracting cost proposals are not initiated required for the evaluation process of a two-step procurement and accomplished with the two phases. The phase 1 with the proposal evaluated with on one technical approach. Technical qualification include the specialized experience and technical competency and capability of the performance, past performance, and other important factors. The phase 1 evaluation establishes a short list of offers, number 3 to 5, when you're not invited to prepare with phase 2 technical designs and cost proposals to final evaluation selection. To date, the design bid build is still the delivery method most often used by the Air Force. However, the use of the design build has increased every year and known as now the second most common project delivery method used to procure a facility. The industry of the government rapidly gaining with the capability experience of delivery, design, build, construction. 5. Basic approach project execution. The 4 basic approaches of military construction project execution is design, bid, build, and low price, technical acceptance, solution, and turnkey. The design, bid, build. Into the past, the Air Force construction has been allowed with the design, build, facility acquisition. The Air Force design project with an in-house government design agent. The professional designers, both in most cases, the hires the architectural engineer to design the project. The architectural engineer is hired by the Brooks Applicable Public Law 92-582. Selection and procedure review. The architectural engineer prepares 100% of the construction drawing specifications used with the contract bid drawing documents and for the construction documentation defined as required so the contractors could submit the bids. The construction contractor generally is awarded with the lowest reasonable responsive bidder of the government administrative of the construction. Project definition, design, money, and construction. The design build with the firm price fixed, typically established with any of the construction drawings. Completed the design build process is relatively simple to manage. Every one of the understanding of the process of developing the step of the delivery of the product. They have been codified with the National Association of the Government Architectural Engineers, contract with the customer groups, and roles as clear. Architectural engineer produce the best in their ability to fully define the construction drawing and specification and products select of the building system with the detailing the assembly and the construction technology of the government throughout. The design agent retains a highly level design, construction, and control. Receive the firmly fixed price for the construction throughout the defined product. However, these situations whenever the design build process create the concern with the design because of the construction costs are not fixed until the project is complete with the design. The design suffers the lack of the input of the contractor subcontractor. Since this group is not involved with the design process, the architectural engineer is not always the most knowledgeable about the innovation for the new construction technology. The responsibility for the successful result. The completed project is divided between the architectural engineer and the contractor. Divided responsibility increases the potential for the litigation. B, the design and build professional organization associated with the construction of the industry with the general agreement with the definition, traditional design, bid and build, project delivery, and project with the public sector, with unfortunately consistent definition of the design, build, low price, technically acceptable. The turnkey, and the bridge does not currently exist. The guide defines each of the delivery methods, design definitions, and glossary located at the beginning of this document. Many organizations use these terms, but apply slightly different definitions. These led misunderstandings, confusing within the industry. See Appendix 43 for industry definitions of design build. In Air Force approach with the design build, architectural engineer governs the designers prepare the design build request for proposal, define the design elements that the government award the control, the request for proposal, advertise for the design bid, old team's qualification, price proposal based on the request for proposal complete for the design construction with the facility. The award normally goes on the team offering the best value and under the fixed price contract. C, of the contracting officers may place price restrictions on the best value and making the lowest price contract or project definition, money, design, and construction. Design build. The firm fixed price of typically establishes the design build request for proposal using only the project definition phase of the design. The design build approaches addresses many of the issues concerning the described design bid build process, but the cost process is firmly fixed early with the design build. The architectural record and the construction contractor collaborate to provide the best balance design between the design, construction, technology, and cost. The government holds a single contract with the one organization responsible for the design construction, that reducing the conflict of the potential litigation. C, low price technical acceptable solicitation. Usually the two types of two-step seal bids described in FAR subpart 14.5 might occasionally be appropriate with the used method awarded with the contract to the lowest price technically acceptable offer. The use sealed bidding described by the FAR subpart 14.1 and through 14.4. Seldom approach of the military construction project can be generally applied within the routine projects base maintenance delivery contracts. D, the turnkey. Another form of the design build is called turnkey. The turnkey project is established with the fix of the price, but they're usually based on the written request for proposal with no sketches to the drawing. Air Force personnel prepare a request for proposal defining the minimum design requirements, usually a narrative form. The design building team submit the design concept along with the price proposal, design qualification packages. The form acquisition usually selected with the repetitive type of the construction and project, usually housing, temporary living facilities, etc. Type of the contracting, highest level of the risk effort offer and offer involved with a significant amount of money. Preparation of each of the proposal turnkey construction includes the requirement of the offer to complete with land and acquisition in order to achieve the final facility. 6. Comparison of the design building and design build. The best way to understand the Air Force approach to design build is to concentrate with the design build project with the delivery method. These delivery method stages are required for the factors. These influence the relationship between the government and the contractor with responsibility, project definition, knowledge, and the construction technology. A, responsibility. When something goes wrong with the design, bid, build project, the legal triangle, the Air Force architectural engineer and contractor becomes the legal triangle. However, the single point of the responsibility design build becomes litigation, delays the project costs, and the impacts of the government. Design, bid, build separate the design, construction responsibility, the architectural record, and the construction contractor have separate contracts in housing. The designer and or architectural engineer complies with all the design activities necessary to construct the facility. Once the design is complete with the invitation for bids, the issued responsibility received and construction contractor selected for the construction with the facility and performance with the design documentation conflicts the frequently are between the designer and the builder, which is intended how to attain the desired result. The Air Force is sometimes caught in the middle of the moment was resolved the issue of the type. The following of the 4 paragraphs are excerpts of the article published with the prospect with the proponent-sponsored engineering corps training called Design Build and Paradigm Shift concerning the responsibility of design bid building and design build procurements. Design build contract normally goes with the lowest builder. When the lowest builder is significantly below the other builders, we often worry that sometimes something was left out or misunderstood. The design design builder is contracted normally awarded with the best value, but is if the contractor has been a demonstrated understanding of the other requirements. Under design building, the contractor has met with only the requirements, planning, the specification, the designer intent. With there is no significant if the heirs have the documentation. The facility does not perform as required, but the contractor has no obligation to perform the contract. Has no obligation to correct the problem under the design build using performance specification. The contractor ensures the facility performs as intended. With the type of the contract intent means something. During the design bid build, we estimate the cost of certain milestones, even though we do an excellent job on the estimated cost. There are still only best guesses. Estimates done after the decisions have been made and accept the value engineering efforts of the cost of the design decisions are not apparent for the designer unless the total project is over the budget. And while the value engineering efforts contribute greatly to make the design most cost effective, the design on which the direction go based on the best guess, the estimate which we know and may sometimes vary greatly actual costs. Design build, on the other hand, the contractor must design the budget of the face with the planning deficiency out of its own pocket because of the risk of the face of the contractor prepares the detailed project with track performance constantly all levels the contractor can get actually and not estimated with the cost and ultimately goes over the budget. He looks at the way to make the design more cost effective, but even the bigger advantage the contractor can have the designer with the work of the supplier and the subcontractor. The designer has been modified the design to meet such of the operation product without the giving up the design integrity. Examples of which when the designer submits the preliminary drawings to sealed fabricators of the bid process, the instructor for the bidders to indicate what the changes that have been made to reduce the cost estimate. The designer can customize the design and capability of the successful fabricator. Customization could change range from operational issue to the number of the size of the selection based upon the current market conditions. The synergy between the designer, builder, and suppliers is only with the greatest advantage of the design building. The following chart compares the certain of the design bid builds to the design build delivery methods. Alright, we have your task, and then your design bid build, and your design build, total float and schedule performance. Project definition, architectural engineering, request for proposal, architectural engineering, design bid build. Performance specification, request for proposal, design bid build, not applicable request for proposal, architectural engineering. Task, design development, or design bid build, architectural engineering, design build, designing building team, construction bid construction, architectural engineering, design build team, construction technology, builder and design build team, construction, builder and design build team, architectural record, architectural engineer, or design build team. All amounts of claims, often design bid build, and less often design to build. Alright, B, project definition. The government elects to use the design build acquisition process in the choice of the purveyor of the project definition documents. They can also be accomplished with the house resource by hiring the architectural engineering, the request for proposal, architectural engineering, responsible for developing concepting, drawings, performance specification, as well as the technical portion of the request for proposal. The design build project requires less formal design prior to the construction contract award. The design bid build project the appropriate the bid level, the design amount necessary to satisfy the user exemptions, special needs, the keep of the amount of the prospective design to a minimum the varied depending on the complexity of the project, the amount of the control of the government wishes to have the completed design. The request for proposal include significant levels of design defining the architectural comparability, secure requirements, or unique functional requirements remaining the design elements that can be found with the performance specifications. The government, through the request for proposal, architectural engineer, the department design agent with the in-house staff that prepares the project definition, documentation, the object of these documents define only the critical design requirements of the industry, the standards, select the design building contract, define everything else in the contract. The architectural engineer for the design bid build project prepares the completion of the construction documentation to describe the project requirements. The builder produces the shop drawing provided with the submittals with the working drawing. C, the knowledge of the construction technology. The design build team works together to find the best available construction method to be the Air Force design tech functional requirement, the general contractor, and the design component with the design build team with the manufacturer specifically. Specialty subcontractor developing must be the technology used to fabricate the project. The design bid build process relies heavily on the architectural engineer to knowledge about the current materials building and the technology related costs. The design building encourages collaboration between the design contractor, manufacturer, specialty subcontractors. The team develops the best contracting solution jointly and limited with the quality requirements definition of the request for proposal. 7. The advantage of the design build. There are significantly benefits inherited with everyone committed with the design build approach. The team members, Air Force design build building contractor to have the design build experience of the project is appropriate with the process. Some of the advantages are collaboration, the relationship between the architect and recorder and the builder, often adversely with the design build process because most of the more open and foster collaboration. The two parties tending to exchange more ideas than they are members of the same team. The result, the more efficient project with the benefits of government design and contractor. Low cost. The design build projects often result in lower total project cost because of the close working relationship with the architectural engineer and the constructor. The knowledge of the construction technology on the part of the construction specialty of the subcontractor manufacturers incorporated with the project during the design. The collaboration leads to the more economical design solution. The application with the cost-saving construction methods in addition with the construction efficiency improved because of the architectural engineer as a member of the design build team and can appropriately directly resolve designing the issues of the surface. An hourly fixed price of the design build contract established the fixed price cost only with its critical elements design actual, completely and fully defined. A speedier cut schedule is normally designed process resulting from shorter schedule through a use of fast track procedure. The fast track procedure allows certain elements of the construction to be proceeded with simultaneously with the design. Design bid build can also be implemented fast track, which requires an exceptional amount of the coordination, reduce litigation, reduce the contract modification, design build, reduce the burden on the owner to mediate dispute between the architectural engineer builder the Smith because of the single entity. The design build team is contractually accountable for the entire project. Concerned about the loss of the communication, misunderstanding, interpretation of documents between the architectural engineer and the builder is no longer an issue with the government perspective. The contractor assumes the technical responsibility to provide a complete and usable facility. Reduce the administrative burden since the final design construction awarded with the same team. The conflicts between the contractors must be resolved with the government significantly reduced. However, there will still be generally two contracts awarded. For example, there can be only one selection of request for proposal. Architectural engineer use of the Brooks Acts method of design building contractor used to negotiate the contracting method procedure. There also use the other type of the contract to reduce the design and time and cost. The design building foster and partnering as well. 8. Roles. The Air Force Program Manager, the design agent, responsible for the overall success process for the use of initial completed facility. Air Force Program Manager must be well organized to have a thorough understanding of the design build process. The Air Force Program Manager must monitor the activity of aggressive efforts in keep the process running smoothly. The most important task is to ensure the open and continual communication among the community. E-players, the contracting officer, contracting staff play a key role in a contracting office. Contracting acts in close coordinate with the developing strong working relationship is essential with the successful design build the project with the contracting team will prepare the solicitation, gain approval with the request proposal, source selection plan, provided with the training of the source selection evaluation team, brief advisor, other conflict of interests and services or sole point of contact between the government officers, receive proposals, conduct all the decision officers, request proposal, architectural engineers, contracted, provided with the sufficient project definition, limited the design cost estimating technical portion of the request proposal to fully define the project and preparation with the solicitation alteration that it can be accomplished with the government design and experience with the staff below available. The source selection authority is ultimately authority for the selection, designing, bids, contract. The source selection authority approves of the source selection plan and selection of the source selection evaluation team. The advisors and approve the contracting award. Contracting officers competitive range to decide what the contractor will award, how much of the contractor will be awarded. Although the source selection authority is responsible is broad, but the time of the requirements are not extensive. The source selection evaluation team it includes the expended staff members that have been the key in the interest of the proposed facility. Source selection evaluation team members that lead to be the contracting officer, major comm CE, the staff of the base civil engineering, construction management, design programmers, and user organization. The source selection evaluation team will review each of the proposal prepared clarification requests and deficiency reports provided with the briefings of the source selection authority. Source selection evaluation team chairperson prepared proposal analysis report. The technical evaluation is responsible for the evaluation. Officers' technical approach proposed schedule of management plan with the technical evaluation team will vary with the size of the pair based on the complexity of the acquisition. The minimum of the most included with the two people, the office users, officers evaluating the preparation of the request for proposal. The technical evaluation team member will establish the technical evaluation criteria. The contractor evaluation during the proposal evaluation selection awarded with the contracting evaluation performance, the cost analysis of the proposal prepares the report of the findings, prepares clarification request, the deficiency report, and evaluates the response with the officer updated with the cost price analysis report. The user is the organization that will occupy the use of the facility and is complete the roles of the critical for the project definition phase. The user has a base civil engineering technical staff that define the flow of the information people, the work area, storage requirements, communication, security, access requirements, requirement that the user should not try to design the facility by rather thoroughly identifying the requirements, including but must have and would likely to have items. The source and selection advisor, the government and non-government experts who have been called upon to proper advisory assistant for the source selection authority, the source of the selection evaluation team. Advisors made accurate, objectively reveal the proposal of the particular functional area provided with the comments, recommendation, government decision markers, and the environmental management recommended with the source selection advisor of the sustainable design consideration proposed project. The design build bid contractor, the contracting team will work with the contractor to complete the design of the contracting facility. The major CAM has authority to approve the user design procedure, but the major COM may act as an agent, otherwise participate in the source selection activity, design oversight of the construction management. The Air Force Civil Engineering, Air HQ, USAS, FILE staff will provide with the project documentation office of the Secretary of Defense of the Congress to gain the project office authorization at appropriation of the project design cost of the $500,000 or greater. The Air Staff will be involved with the congressional notification with the office of the Secretary of the Air Force Legislative Liaison before award of the request for proposal architectural engineering contract for Title 10 U.S. Standard Code 2807 or the Secretary of Air Force Legislative Liaison makes all required notifications to the Congress. Alright, 9. Factors to consider with the design building project. Successful Air Force building design projects, they have several common characteristics. The following factors should be evaluated to determine that the design build process is appropriate with the specific project. Considered with the using design build with the Air Force program manager with the personal experience. Using design build as also extensively experienced advisor, but furthermore, the Air Force program manager must have support, technical, professional, and facility acquisition to assist the preparation, quality, design build, request for proposal, documentation evaluation. The spindle process of the monitoring the design and construction of the design building team, was reconsidering the design build with the government representative that have no experience managing the type of delivery, the method standards of the project using the private sector commercial standard of the Air Force design guide for the project of the symbol, repetitive tending to result with a successful design building project. The following table summarizes the standards and guides available for the Air Force building type of the most suitable design building facility. Alright, there is facility type of private sector and commercial standards. Air Force design. Housing hangars has a private sector and a commercial standard, and a AF design. Hangars have private sector commercial standards. Administrative headquarters, private sector and commercial standards. Medical clinics, private standard sectors. Maintenance facilities, private sector and commercial standards. Dorms and TLFs. AFI design guide. Children dev centers also has private sector commercial and AF design. Training facilities, commercial design, standards. Designing facilities, private sector and AF design. Warehouse, private sector commercial design. MWR fair warehouse facilities, private sector commercial standards. Flight line facilities, private sector standards. Repetition project for the usual, you reuse the design elements, repeat the same building design for many of the facility prime candidates for using the design build. Industry interest, some of the regions, countries have a great deal of experience in developing a project with using the design build, and communities may contract with the interested responding to the design request for proposal. Conversely, difficult to competitively select the design builder with a community with little interest and experience. It's Appendix 44, current policy of the DB state construction. Provide a status with each of the interpretation of the design build, the state facility construction project, elevation, design build with a non-traditional construction method, add complexity to determine the professional liability coverage and level of legal risk. State licensing laws that inhibited the practice of the application of the design build and pass the professional liability insurances has been more difficult to be attained with both insurance of the company not adapting new roles with architectural engineering under the paradigm of the design build, the sole source of the responsibility to protect the legal risk and may increase the design build team. Security design build the appropriate the higher high secure project with only the objective to avoid distribution and final design. Multiple contract design build allows the government to select the team, design build the system and the facility based on the out of the requirements actual set of the facility design. Thus has the limited distribution. Size and cost in past design build has been applied with the primary large project. The result of the level of the effort required with the design firm to firm team, the contractor, large and cost of the putting on a proposal together. More of the companies are being formed whose primary business is design build, which is likely to result in design building being more feasible for small projects. X. Design building process. The design building process can be organized in 3 phases. The following section provided with the depth of decision. The 3 phases of the flow diagrams provided with the steps of the architectural engineering selection, request for proposal, preparation, and source selection. Project definition. Architectural engineering selection process. Issue program instruction requirement documentation. Project management plan development. Receiving design instruction requirement defining delivery status design. Dedicating to a higher architectural engineer. Pre-definition, configuration, notice of proposal of the project definition, request for proposal, preparation, project definition, request for proposal development, process of preparation, definition, conference of the contracting officer, issues not notice to proceed, the requirements analysis of the chart schematic design chart the contracting officer need for the request for proposal front and documentation request for proposal, architectural engineering develops project definition review, project definition approved, the final net request for proposal, prepare, approve the source selection plan, determine the evaluation factors, appoint the source, the selection evaluation team, technical evaluation team members, train source evaluation team, technical evaluation team, commerce business daily announcement, issue of request for proposal, source of selection process for the design, building contract, received along in personal pre-evaluation meeting, evaluation process, evaluation proposal, written clarification questions, report, technical evaluation report, determine competitive range, oral decision, clarification request, deficiency report, notifying offers outside of the competitive range, best and final offer submitted with evaluated proposal analysis report, selected design, build contract, and awarded contractor. If clarification requires, the deficiency report is not required for the firm of the selected with the provided with the best value of the Air Force, the process to go directly in the evaluated proposal itself. A design, building contract, and technical evaluation report with the phase that included the proper analysis, preparation under the situation. 11. Request for a proposal, architectural engineering selection process. The process of selecting with architectural engineering is documented with the Chapter 3 of this guide, but the Chapter 3 defines the process, offers the number of the hints and tips of the Air Force program, and ensures the continuous selection process that demonstrated the entire process. In addition, with the chart, a checklist is provided with the detailed action with the operation plan for each of the associated with the items required in the architectural engineering online. The architectural engineering selection process is unique to the design build. Selection process of design build does not differ significantly for the described the Chapter 3 of the exemption of the additional requirement to obtain the design build authority. The major comment appendix 485 the request for the design build authority. For example, the request for design build authority, Chapter C, project management plan. The project management plan should address the technical business of management, other significant considerations, control acquisition, identify the design decision milestones, program project management plan to obtain the installation project, buying and using the design build to identify the needs, defining specific requirements, to define the budget and outlining the schedule, documentation, facility acquisition strategy. One of the most important issues obtaining the buying to issue the design build process is ensuring the key players that understand the process, the roles during developing the project management plan, the facility acquisition strategy to develop. It must be addressed the selection of the requests. Both requests for the proposal for the architectural engineering will prepare the design build request for proposal and the selection of the design build contractor. Source selection plan for the design build acquisition not prepared under the contract awarded, but the request for proposal architectural engineer. Review the requirements as far as Part 7 the preparation of the acquisition plan, but the government should form a team to make sure the installation of the major personnel involved with the buy-in with the design build approach reluctantly can hamper the project. The check Department of Defense Form 1391. The Air Force Program Manager should inform the Department of Defense Form 1391 updated with required with working with the base in the major program staff. The Department of Defense Form 1391 should not include a separate line with the design. The Air Force Program Manager should know the design and perform with the 2 phases of the first phase, but the government request for proposal architectural engineer prepare some of the design to document the project definition, develop the project definition phase and preparation. Request for proposal package must be paid with the planning of the designing funds. With the second phase of designing, developing construction documentation accomplished with the designing, building contract, designing accomplished with the design bid contract, building contract, and normally funded with the construction funds. Although the design encouraged with the portion of the design may be paid with the planning and design function funded with the or occasionally such as when it was impossible to award the design building contract of 100 within 125% of the program amount using the design fee funded separately when planning of the design funds is expected with the use of the appropriate. The request for proposal must clearly identify the bid item and its audit trail of these funds that may be maintained. Prepare the commercial business daily synopsis. The commercial business daily synopsis announcement should be include the information clearly describe the request of the service of development of the request for proposal. Suggested information requirement includes the description of services required for the prepared request for proposal, noting the completed construction documentation are not contemplated. The key statements about the facility process, the definition, confliction, and requirements of such prohibitions and the selected request for proposal. Architectural engineer participated in the design, building, contractor team. The evaluation factors in order and importance. After preparing the architectural engineering staff statement of the work, the Air Force program manager should use the expertise base of the major common staff with prepared with the statements of work, similar facilities, design, build, request for proposal. The request for proposal, architectural engineering statement of work prepared by the Air Force program manager will defer one prepared for the design bid build project, and the request for proposal architectural engineer will not be architected of the record of the project. The statement of work of the request for proposal architectural engineer should address the following topics unique for the design build process. Required the preparation of the drawing specification include the design build for the request for proposal, outline for the request for proposal, format and definition of the request for proposal will prepare with the request for proposal, architectural engineering. Those portions will be prepared for by the government. Description of level project definition of the degree with the design accepted by to be performed, identification, comprehensive interior design, and or the request for proposal requirements. Definition for the controlling conflicting interests requirements. Definition Title II services technical review on-site inspection as is an option. Preparing the government fee. The request for proposal development service the architectural engineer may range from 1.5 to 3% of the programmed amount compared with the traditional 10% fee of the 100% of the design. The caution traditional rule of thumb does not directly apply with the level of the effort required for the prepare of the request for proposal. The document should be closely examined based on the level of the design. A key the difference between the request for proposal architectural engineering will not create the full set of the drawings, since the design build will actually design the project. The fee the negotiations before condemning inducting the fee and notification Air Force program with the contracting officer should discuss the level of design detail the government asks expect the request for proposal architectural engineer. Weighting the factors for the design, building, and experience. Be sure to ask the question during the interview. The decision is determining the amount of design, building, experience the architectural engineer actually has the specific rule in the project is submitted, but the Air Force program manager should include the design, build experience relatively high in the evaluation criteria. The elements can include experience with the request for proposal, architectural engineer, successful design, building team. 12. The project definition and development. Introduction to the project definition process of development. The request for proposal domain with the opportunity for the user to have significant impact with the key needs for the facility before the formal design build of the contract, with the exemption with the critical need for the user and the incorporated with the early process of selection, addressing the project definition, activities unique with the design building process of development of the strong project definition essential for the elements successful project. The request for proposal architectural development develops a comprehensive project definition for the assistance of the government user and basic civil engineering staff to produce the quality request for proposal. The project definition process begins using the request for proposal architectural engineering selected. Major elements. The step developed by the project definition are similar to both the design bid build and design build. However, their specific result will differ. The major elements of the project definition process include pre-definition conference. The Air Force project program manager conducts the meeting to ensure the request for proposal architectural engineer understands the requirements, management, the plans, the statement of the work before the project definition is started as design bid build project. The requirements, documentation, base comprehensive plan, base facility quality standards. The exemption of the user should be discussed upon the satisfactory completion of the conference. Notice to proceed can be issued. The product of the redefinition conference includes the modification requirements of management plan of the team directory, validated statement of work minutes, actions, items, the base comprehensive plan design guides and environmental concern for the utility drawing set as built drawings are provided with the request for proposal architectural engineering and appropriate for these items discussed in more detail chapter 2 and 3 of this guide. Data gathering. The request for proposal architectural engineer leads the process gather data out of with effective use for the site by visits, questionnaires, research and interviews, and investigation. Request for analysis and Charté. Request for proposal architectural engineering requirements analysis. Charté the game with the consensus of the key elements of the new facility construction requirements are focused on the Charté the schematic schematic drawings designed with the charte follows the process the same with the design bid build, design build project, the design build project, the request for proposal. Architectural engineer does not design the project, but rather defines the parameters, essential elements of the design, since the process for the user it can have the greatest impact with the essential the user has to be fully involved. Project definition documentation. The request for the engineering develops the project definition documents based on the information collected from such different architectural engineers will actually design the project. It is important to explain just about the documentation data. Ultimately, project definition documentation must be reviewed and approved by the Air Force project manager. People involved with in this project definition, the Air Force project manager, the project definition phase of the Air Force project manager moves closely in request for proposal. Architectural engineer to ensure all the base of the functions that have the input with the chartes involved with the Air Force project manager provided with the functional support of the Air Force project manager, the architectural engineer, and ensure the critical elements properly and addressed during the data gathering and charte activity. The user for the design build must actually involve the project definition process during the project definition phase. Require the activities must be provided with the basic information to allow and follow on the development of the request for proposal. The designer, the user should take care of the concerning supporting requirements without the specifying exactly how the facility would be laid out. Requirements should be addressed with the general categories: people flow, staff, customers, communication flows, the paperwork flow, the equipment is not RPI, space, utilities, access, etc. Requirements, unique space requirements, storage requirements, specialized requirements, SCFI, tabs, security, sanitation, sustainability, development, etc. Gathering charters. All parties of the project must be closely determine the detailed project definition. The Air Force project manager watchdog to ensure the user of the representative with the resident with a clear picture of the facility operational requirements in the design build project. The information will be built with the project definition. Documentation will become with the communication vehicle to tell the design builders, the team what design. Air Force project manager will continue to have input design process in design bid build projects. However, the design build project especially report these data collected with the organized by the project definition documented in a manner that is easily understood. One of the project definitions developed and becomes the part of the request for proposal. If the opportunity is missed for the future changes, all in modifications design the bid project. The requirements of the charte is critical to the success for the project and the interface for the support organization, communication, security, policy, civil engineering, transportation, safety, bioenvironmental engineering is essential for successful project definition development. The following civil engineer functions should be represented with the charte: designing section, operational maintenance and flight, environmental management, fire department. However, during the development phase, the functional use of the supporting agency needs to define their operational requirements. The Air Force program manager makes sure the request for proposal architectural engineer defines the building a component with the core requirements of designing the project. The request for proposal architectural engineer takes in information organizing the summary or type of typical alphanumeric of the customer and project requirements for the be presented for the systematic design charte by the charte with where everyone should agree with the project requirements. Consensus of the critical parties must be reached during the activities and items to be unresolved, like the cause of the problem design with the construction phase. A detailed requirement list of the equipment list and special entry for the items listed should be categorized and ready to use during the request for proposal. Don't let this building contractor catch you in the corner of the arguing in the mechanical room. Much be longer with the accommodated with the HVAC equipment to design the build the contractor wants to buy. They should be the same with the request for proposal required with the mechanical room to be the size accommodated with at least 3 different manufacturer systems. However, the design build contractor decides to purchase equipment. The result will increase with the square footage acceptability and improve the layout of the chains of the design build contractor expense and additional contractor expense the design build contractor responsibility. E. Once the requirement of charte information has been consulted with, the analyzed interviews must be conducted with the result of the data gaps and conflicted with the request for proposal. Architectural engineering consulted and conducted with the schematic of the design of the charte. Detailed with the interior design equipment layout should be discussed and then should resolve the following activities essential elements of the project definition and are essential for the same design and build project as a design build project. Produce the project definition documentation, project definition review, project definition approval. Project definition documentation. A variety of the products should be resulting with the project definition phase and appropriate accomplished by the request for proposal architectural engineer. The project definition must be followed by the request for proposal architectural engineer. Can be proceeded with the request for proposal development. All right, your chapter 13, project definition and request for proposal preparation diagram. The design, build, acquisition guide, the request for proposal preparation, project definition, request for proposal development process. Pre-definition conference, CO and issues and notice to proceed, requirements analysis, charte, schematic drawings to charte. Also from schematic drawing, you go to CO to department's request for the front end documentation, which leads to the final request for proposal. But and then to the commercial business daily announcement, issue the request for proposal. But on the other hand, there's a ladder. This goes from request for proposal, architectural engineer, project definition to preparing approval, source selection plan, determining evaluation factors, appointing the SSET, TET members, and training SSET and TET members. Chapter 14, project definition and request for proposal checklist, document development checklist. All right, your operation and your action. Conduction of pre-definition conference. Operation Air Force Project Manager. Issue notice to proceed. Project definition contracting officer. Define customer requirements. Request for proposal. Architectural engineer. Gathering information. Request for proposal. Architectural engineer. Conducting requirements charte and conducting schematic design charte. Developing project definition. Request for proposal. Architectural engineer. Preparing request for proposal. Documentation. Operators. Contracting officer. 9. Request for proposal, date of statement of work, request for proposal, architectural engineer. The next 3, 10 through 12, reviewing proposal, draft statement of work, obtaining funds and authority to advertise, preparing source selection plan, Air Force project manager. Also, 13, preparing evaluation factors, Air Force project manager. 14, approving source selection authority. 2, issuing advance notice of the commercial business business daily and issued draft request for proposal, potential bidders if used a contracting officer. Performing final request for proposal and to review all issued requests for proposal, contracting officer. 19, issuing an appointment letters to source selection, evaluation, technical evaluation, contracting evaluation team, the source selection authority, and conducting training of the source selection evaluation team, technical evaluation team, contracting officer. 21, conducting proposal conference, air project manager, managing inquiries, and amending request proposal if necessary, contracting officer. The request for proposal development, the front end of the documentation modified with the uniform contract and format. The request for documentation mostly clearly describes the traditional technical requirements for the project with the criteria evaluation proper proposal for the contractual relationship between government and offeror. The request for proposal must also be constructed with the permanent qualified officers and equal consideration for selection. The request for proposal describes the officers of government wants to by the terms of the contract, how the submitted will be formatted, how they will be evaluated. The request for proposal, the architectural engineer. Usually the Air Force program manager, the contracting officer, must coordinate carefully with the resulting documents to clearly and unambiguously content with the format of the request proposal, follow the uniform contract format, following the modified uniform contract format outline. All right, the request for proposal outline, modified uniform contract format, section A through G is standard 14. Part 1 schedule. General 14, Form 1442, solicitation, officer, supplies, service, price, cost, description, specification, not applicable to reference section J, packaging, parking, not applicable, inspection, acceptance of the scheduled deliveries and performance, contracting administration, Part 2, contract clause, section 1, contract clause, Part 3, list of documentation, exhibits, and other attachments, section J, list of attachments, attachments 1 through 7, project summary, specification, geotechnical study, environmental report, DFS beacon, wage determination, drawing, special, small business, small disadvantaged business, subcontracting plan. Part 4, responsibility instruction, section K, L, and M, representation, certification, and other statements, officers, and quotes, instruction, condition, notice for officers, evaluation factors, and awards. The front-end documentation are prepared with the contracting officer with the help of the Air Force program and the design agent, including the all sections of the request for proposal, like section J, section A, standard form 1414, solicitation, offer and award standard form 1442, prepared with the contracting officer generally describes the work required with the reference panel for the request for proposal section. The three important elements for the information included in these form are the type of the time and place, the submittal per proposal, and the requirement for the officers to have authorized representative of the organization sign of the proposal. Section B, the service of the price cost summary the contract requirements provided with the place for the officers to submit their proposed price, the design, build, procurement cost, and the pricing information required with the submitted with the volume separated with the technical proposal, past performance evaluation, or information. The sign phase the procurement with the information provided with the volume 1 at the same time with the technical past performance volumes. The 2-phase negotiated procurement with the cost proposal submitted only after the offer has been shortlisted and invited with the proceed to step 2. The officer then has submitted the volume 1 cost and pricing data along with the technical design submitted with the Air Force program management should be prepared with the specific format and the price proposal is provided with the necessary detailed format analysis that will defer normal submittals since the design construction activities must be evaluated. Section C, description specification work statement, not applicable, included in Section J. Section D, packaging and marking, not applicable. Section E, inspection and acceptance containing the special clause for the Air Force to use the inspection and acceptance of the work. In most cases, the clauses may be selected for the form of the listed. As far as 52-246, the contracting officer is required to include the special clause of the design, building, and inspection. In this section, the Air Force program manager can coordinate with the contracting officer to ensure that any special unusual inspection requirement incorporated the optional special phasing requirements must be included with the paragraph associated with the time when specific phase is required for the designing building process procurement as far as part 15.406.3b, which prescribes using the contract clause of the 52.214.33 order of precedence the design building procurement when using the uniform in contracting formula. Do not use the clause for your design building solicitation. Instead, use the following clause when for the design. The base of the designing building contract is establishing the order of precedence. The contract includes standards at the standards and clause of the standard and contract clause of the schedule current with the time of the contract clause of the entity of the solicitation entirety, including all drawing cuts and illustration and amendments in the successful officer's assessed proposal. The contract constitutes to find the entire agreement with the contract government. Non-documentation may be allowed with any way of the bearers upon the terms of the agreement. In the event of the conflicting contingency between the provision of the contracting precedence should be given in the following order: betterments in proportion for the accepted proposal within the conformity to exceed with the provision of solicitation. The provision of solicitations here with the contractor clause, specifications, drawings for the construction, all other provisions accepted with the proposal, any other design, including but not limited to plan, specification, engineer studies, engineers, analysis, shopping drawings, equipment installation drawings, etc. The deliverables under the contracting are not part of the contracting itself. The design project must be conformed within the provision of the contracting in accordance with the precedents therein. Herein, Section 5 of the schedule of deliveries performance outline the liquidated damages performance period of work, the work schedule of the project with the civil engineer provided with the calculations to support liquidated damages. Air Force program management requires the activity to conform. Contracting officers should jointly discuss the appropriate amount of liquidated damage. Government should be established the required performance periods and the minimum number of milestones of the contract. Government should specify any of the work phases of the one of the contract to include identify the officer will comply with the Section 5 of the proposed performance period for the eggs. Each phase of the offer should be encouraged for the improve the government schedule. Section G, contracting administrative data, includes the account of the appropriations data that listed the names, address, telephone number, the government contractor representative, including the contract negotiated the contracting administrator, the payment of the office, the contractor administrator, remittance and address. The Section H of the special contract requirements include special contract clause, not including the Section I. The section is usually used in clauses specifically written for the specific procurement. The Air Force program and its representative of the contracting officer should coordinate with the the insurer of the contracting clause necessary to address the special requirements of the project, including especially with the special contract requirements and government furnished policy, technical direction, and insurance requirements. Section 1, Contracting Officer. The contracting officer will select the clause with the incorporated with the contract. These clauses may be majority with the contracting text describing the obligation commitment with the government office of the Air Force project commanded with the contracting officer. Should ensure both the architectural engineer construction clause with the reference for the clause with the contracting type of the services being required as far as 52.102 and 1 and 2 require transportation clause with the reference to the maximum extent possible. The following experts were selected with the design building request for proposal intent with encourage the officer to improve the government schedule. Offers caution that they do not meet the government schedule. Their technical management proposal may be considered unacceptable. As a minimum, your schedule shall be in compliance with the schedule included with the early completion of the facility. If desirable, will be important for the factor evaluation milestone schedule to prepare or to offer the contractor approved schedule will be project schedule. Include the schedule evaluation item additional points if it can be given the improvement of the government schedule. Our Section J, attachments including the statement of work supporting the information necessary for the operator to understand the project requirements in order to prepare the technical management, the price proposal, request proposal, architectural engineering, Air Force in-house, preparing the performance-based statement of work, and as a product of the project definition. All efforts should be made to define level of quality, any specific parameters used of the required sections and requires in the section. The attachment of this section outlined with the technical requirements for the designer of the building and the statement of statement of work. The information includes the performance specifications, functional specifications, drawing other design data that were necessary to allow the design building contractor to complete the design and construction facility. The objective of the documentation is to describe the design elements the government wants to control the detailed items, the unique features, usually the facility to specify. Specific operation requirements may be required with the higher level design items which an industrial standard must be defined with the user to perform a specification sketches. For example, the refueling vehicle management facility may require performing specifications to define the structural system, design guides with the defined areas, requirements, adjacent standards, detailed specifications to define explosion-proof power receptacles, the lowest location of the design review of the most be determined with the state request proposal. This allows the design build contractor to include the cost of the travel and personnel into overall bid. The phasing of the design construction must include the request for proposal. Air Force program management should consider starting the construction after the approval of the initial design submitted at 100% site design and 50% facility design. Section K, representation. Certification and other statements of officers include the representation certification offered to determine the status and ensure the compliance with the social and economical requirements for the procurement, the provision, or create the social self-monitoring mechanism. Certification officers are not required to prove each item. The contracting officer in which will select relevant clauses with pertinent specific procurements. Section 11, instructions. Section L, instructions, conduction, notification officers. Include solicitation provision with instruction officers. Include the detailed guidance related to the information government believes necessary for the evaluation. The government should be also discussed in all word of the process. Issues method of acceptable proposal submitted with Section 11. They should also request the officer to identify the technical costs and schedule request for the list of the deviations above associated with the proposal. Special instruction for the officer should be jointly prepared with the source of the selection evaluation team of the contracting officer. Objectives dictated the submittal of formatting and ensure the information required for the rating of the proposal clearly organized, matching the evaluation process applied with both technical price of the information. The contracting officer assisting with the Air Force program manager should prepare the specific format and type of the price of the proposal provided with the necessary detailed formatted analysis. The selection should also define the page limitation requirement to keep the technical cost data. The separate cost data should never be included with the technical portion of the submittal. The page limitations can be included with the Section L page limitations. As if the limitation standardization size proposal submitted with the typical page limitation included experience resumes 50 pages, specification 50 pages, alternative narratives 50 pages, past president performance 20 pages, and for font size, page size, and also considered with defining the content of the section format proposal. Section M, the evaluation factors awarded, outlined with the areas of evaluation listed with the evaluation factors, sub-factors in each area, the relative order of the importance of the areas and evaluation factors included in Section M must be identical to those listed in the source selection plan. Additional information regarding the evaluation factors included the discussion source selection plan. Section M should also appraise the officers. Other significant aspects of the selection process is included with the discussion will be held with it. And if it was best value, there are three types of discussion. Section M should define with or anticipated to be used by the selection process. The three types of discussion are: the government may not hold the formal discussion, the government may hold an oral discussion, the government may hold a written discussion. All right. B. People involved with the request for proposal development. Air Force program manager during the request for proposal development phase, the Air Force program manager will continue to monitor progress. The Air Force program manager, architectural engineering, specifically with Air Force program manager, will review the various elements of the request for proposal, state from the work, request for developing drawing specification criteria for the final design, request for the data, then draft and final request for proposal, request for the developing acquisition strategy, source selection plan, processing evaluation criteria, requesting of relatively important if approval of the source selection authority as a part of source selection plan, propose evaluation standards to relate the evaluation criteria. The contracting officer during the request for proposal developing, the contracting officer will review the commercial business daily synopsis, submit the public for publication, prepare for the front end documentation, issue the draft of the request for proposal comments. When used, issue the final request for proposal, ensure all the non-governmental technical advisory and are covered by the organizational conflict interest clause with the covering non-disclosure contract and data. See, statement of work of the request for both the design building, the statement of work of the supporting information necessary for the operator to understand the project requirements in order to prepare the technical management of the project proposal, develop and become the attachment to Section J, essential elements of the statement of work included. Goals and objectives of overall, the goals and objectives of the facility should be stated, but include the general style of the use of the proposed facility. A sample of the goals, objective package is provided in Appendix 46 of the sample of the goals, objectives of the headquarters of CEE project. Project description. The project description should be provided with the general information about the type of the site of the proposed facility, provided with the overview design build process, outline proposed project schedule, provided with the narrative describing the architectural engineering services provided required for the design building contractor. The drawing and specification request for proposal architectural engineer should restrain the level of the detail number of the drawing required. The following table to outline the appropriate level of detail of the design building project with the normal complexity of the specification vary in level and detail with it should be comparable to the 16 division established construction specification institute performance specification may be simply usually required conformance regulatory with the industry standards such as Uniform Building Code, National Electrical Code, and American Society of Heating and Refrigeration, Air Conditioning Engineers listing acceptable manufacturing general characteristics of the building system. Detailed specification may specifically identify latent characteristics of the manufacturing model with the number of equal specific installation requirements. Detailed specifications are required to avoid including reference to Air Force instruction, document, DoD documentation reference specific tests and commercial standards instead. Alright, your level of detailed design building request for proposal deviation. Your design elements, your specification, your narrative 10%, and level completion to the design drawing 60%. Design elements, specification perspective, narrative, 10% yes, 60% design, utilities, 60% design, performance, yes, and floor plan, no specifications, no narrative, no special elevations, no narratives, 30 and 60. Finishes have a 30%. Finishes in the schedule have a 30% with their design drawing perspectives are no specifications. Narrative drawings are 10%. None. HVAC and plumbing, their performance specifications, their narratives at 10%. They need a 60% design drawing. Controls and powers, as performance is yes, and site narrative 10% is 60% drawing, lighting as a 30% drawing, and the perspective yes, fire protection and performance yes, and narrative yes, 60%. Foundations and floor framing specification performance narrative yes at 30%, and roofing and framing details performance and yes both yes at 60%. Our existing structure examples include the reports of geotechnical, and environmental findings as built condition facility demonstrated with the Davis Beacon weighted determination. The Davis Beacon Act of the FARS 52-22-6 requires the design building contractor to pay laborers rates of non less than those containing the wage deterioration. Secretary of Labor contracting should incorporate the table of requesting proposal which lists the wage of the benefits required for the classification of the work to be performed. The obtaining the funds and authority, the Air Force program managers conduct the highest headquarters for the authority to advertise the product request for construction funds for the transfer of the commitment of the funds. The letter provided with the action should be result with the issuance of the second design instruction with the authority to advertise the commitment of funds. Issue advance notice in the Commercial Business Daily Announcement. As normal procedure, competition for the Contracting Act will require the competition maximum extent practicable. The directive of the Synapse requirements appear with the Commercial Business Daily at least 15 days prior to the issuance of solicitation. The Air Force Program Administrator should draft and submit the Commercial Business Daily synopsis for the contracting officer when ready. The Commercial Business Daily synopsis lists any of the special requirements skills required for the design building firm. Refer to the Department Form 1391 project definition documentation skills. Special requirements for the requiring activity to define the project scope, the construction, the cost limitation, outlining significant scheduled milestone, including the design, starting the construction start and the occupancy date, list proposal date and the proposed single phase design building procurement list of the proposal date for first phase and two phase design building procurement, includes description single phase and two phase design building procurement, specifying evaluation factors in order of importance. Contracting officer will review the Commercial Business Daily announcement to ensure that all the contracting requirements addressed for the submit the synopsis of the publication is the best publishing synopsis just prior to the completion of the request for proposal to minimize the potential and delays between the publishing synopsis and the request for proposal. Performing the final requesting proposal review. The request for final proposal complete with the documentation review, the solicitation review. The board who remembers have not participated in preparing the documentation provided with the first set of eyes, identifying the errors and contradictions. The review board should also review the solicitation consistency with the law, policy, regulation, requirement, direction, source selection plan. The contracting officer should also review the request for proposal completeness, consistency, and compliance with the FARs, and the schedule for request for proposal development should include the time of the Air Force review, the submittal normally 15 days out of sequence internal middle submittals should be given with the same amount of the review time. G. Conducting source selection briefing. The source selection evaluation chairperson and the Air Force Program Manager shall brief the source selection authority on the source selection plan evaluation criteria. Any risks associated with the project, and the source selection authority will ensure the legal base specific requirement incorporated prior to approval of the source selection prior plan and the request for proposal. The issue of the request for proposal. The contracting officer shall make arrangement for the committee with the request for proposal to reproduce sufficient number to made before request for the potential officer to arrive. To estimate the number of the copies required for obtaining the review of the interest generated over the other similar procurements are conducted with the installation major comments for the bidders and listed with the generated with the Commercial Daily Business Daily announcement prepackaged of the request for proposal in envelopes and return address, and once the requests are available on and labels needed to be typed, and then the package can be mailed and better yet printed off with the request for proposal ready to mail condition. Consider the CD-ROM version of the disc version in lieu of hard copy. Conducting pre-proposal conference. The pre-proposal conference is decided to normally result with the responsible proposal because the officers better to understand the government requirements of the Air Force program should arrange the conference to be conducted with a location near the site. Schedule speakers arrange with someone to keep minutes. Pre-proposal conference agenda should be included just in the Air Force design build process description, level design requirements, including request for proposal, brief with administrative matters, including the due date and some middle location page, etc. Overview of the project should open including the size of the facility type and the estimated cost, special requirements, statement of work with the joint venture's primary sum of relationships acceptable in order to provide design construction requests, resources necessary to complete the work site visit, question, answers. Clear documentation question and answer is important for the answer the officers receive the same information request the questions received prior to the conference. The questions raised at the conference should be submitted with the writing and submitted with the minutes of the conference. The potential officers should attend the conference requested. The request proposal Air Force Program Manager, the contracting officer should work closely together to ensure the government proposal personnel attend with the conference do not stay in anything that they will cause problems with procurement process. It does not allow the government personnel to commit on issues with only one contracting. All contractors must be given the opportunity to hear the question and answer. Do not allow the government personnel to suggest method of accomplishment that can be received in a preferred method. J. Managing inquiry. The contracting authorities are usually only authorized in decision officers. The Air Force Program Manager shall refer all the contracting officers with a complete record will call the question and answer. Ask the answer provided, but it shall be written with the person who is receiving the call and then placed in the project file. K. Under the extraordinary circumstances, it must become necessary to amend the solicitation requirements to cancel the amended solicitation can be result of the error of the documentation, change the delivery strategy, or incomplete sections of the unclear statement. If the request for proposal has been issued, the validated requirements outside of the scope of the Commercial Business Daily services. Synopsis surfaces the Air Force program should prepare the commercial business day notice describing the change of the amendment typically issued for the following circumstances. If the offer asks a question with the answer then is significant enough to all the offers should be advised that any initiated changes based on the government changes as a result of the proposal conference so dictated. And I'm gonna cut this chapter in half.